Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. Bubba Wallace in victory lane. We talked about him extensively on the podcast last week. Pulls it off, holding off Kyle Larson with two final restarts. Looked like he was going to run away with it with how pit stops were going and how much tires did not matter at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But Bubba Wallace gets the win, locks himself into the playoffs, creates a little bit more drama in this playoff contest, or not contest, but race. He wasn't locked in. He was kind of on the bubble there before last week's race. Breaks his winless streak, which I think was set at 100 races coming into that race, and gets 23-11 in victory lane as an open car in one of the biggest races of the season. Kyle Larson finishes second. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Preece, Brad Keselowski finish out the top five. Our boy Todd Gilliland comes home with another sixth-place finish in the Brickyard 400. That's 2 years in a row for him. Blaney, Christopher Bell, Alex Bowman, Carson Hocevar, the top 10. Nick, what'd you think of that race? Because up until the end, and up until the drama, I would say, with pit stops, with fuel strategy, with Joey Logano blowing a tire while leading, the reviews for Indianapolis Motor Speedway were not good. Do you agree with that? And what do you think of the race overall?
Yeah, I think, the racing wasn't great. Let's be real about that. It was not great. I think a lot, racing at Indy already isn't great. That's the whole reason they went to the road course in the first place, because 2020, 2019, et cetera, those last couple of years of the Gen 6 car, racing wasn't good there at Indy. And they tried a couple different packages. Racing wasn't good no matter what package. Now you have the next gen car, which we know is even worse with clean air and dirty air, I should say, for trailing cars. And the racing was even, just as bad, if not worse. And I'm surprised a little bit just because last year's I thought was better. It wasn't amazing, but last year's was better. But this year's was not good racing. And I think that's just kind of the natural evolution of these cars as well. They become harder and harder. Like Kansas earlier this year wasn't as good as years past Kansas's, that kind of thing. I think it's just one of those things where these teams have figured out these cars and have engineered them enough to where they really know how to get the most out of these cars. And the drivers also know how to aero block really well. And so the racing wasn't great. There was strategy, which is cool. I always like a good strategy race. And, I thought at times you could make passing. It was more through the field rather than the leader. You couldn't really pass out front. Yeah. But overall, we had that big fuel save, especially in stage one, somewhat in stage two, where teams and drivers are running 1 to 2 seconds off the pace without even it being tire wear. Because we saw tires didn't matter at all. I mean, Bubba Wallace in 2 tires holds off Kyle Larson on 4 tires. Tires didn't matter. They were just going so slow because they were saving. And it was kind of like super speedway racing. And that's a product of the stages as well. I think you'll still see that if we removed the stages. You'll still see some saving, but it won't be as drastic because you won't know when the cautions are going to fly. You won't, and they probably will at some point before the end of the race. So there's less incentive to go in like 1 or 2 second a lap loss fuel saves. At the same time, if you're losing 1 to 2 seconds a lap saving fuel, why aren't some of the other guys near the front maybe just saying, fuck it, let's just go full out.
Right.
And see if we can pull away 1 to 2 seconds per lap. Over the course of 10 laps, all of a sudden you're 10, 12, 15 seconds ahead. You've more than made up that time you're going to lose on pit road. With that said, you're going to be a little, tighter on fuel, but these stages are such that if you just split them in half, you're going to be fine on fuel anyway. You're just going to have to keep coming down at the end of the stage. So you get a little less wiggle room, I guess, that way. But I don't know. There's a lot of issues with racing at Indy with these cars, with the stages. So it's not great racing. But at the end of the day, I'm fucking happy because Bubba Wallace won, and I was all fucking over him this past week. Even, midweek, my model was crazy high on him. Post-practice and qualifying, because of what happened to Denny Hamlin, because of what happened to Blaney, he didn't look good in practice. Bell didn't look good in practice. We had Kyle Larson starting 13th, whereas Bubba was up near the front. Bubba Wallace was 4th in my model in win probability after the big 3 of Byron, Larson, and Hamlin. Bubba and Briscoe were like neck and neck, 4th, 5th, because so much win probability from Blaney dropped. So much win probability from Christopher Bell dropped. And that elevated everybody else up, but it really elevated the guys up that were starting towards the front. Reddick didn't look good in practice either. And, Indy has been just kind of meh for him over the years, whereas this has been Bubba's best track. So Bubba actually ended up ahead of Reddick, ahead of Briscoe in my model, but those three were kind of neck and neck for the next spot behind the big three. And even then, the big three, right? Denny Hamlin's win probability dropped a lot because he crashed in practice and didn't qualify. Kyle Larson's dropped a little bit because he wasn't the fastest in practice, although he was pretty fast, and he started 13th. And Byron's shot up because of that. But at the same time, when you have like 3 or 4, even 5 big name drivers whose win probability drops, that elevates the win probability for a lot of those mid-tier guys. So I was really showing value on Bubba even after practice and qualifying. I think FanDuel had him 19-1. I was like plus 1350 or something on him for my model post-practice qualifying.
Yeah, it was nice to see one. I mean, I just enjoy, and I tweeted it out after the race that I genuinely enjoy seeing Bubba Wallace win. Like it makes me smile. I like seeing how he acts, how just like his reactions after a race. I enjoy it. I like seeing him succeed. So it was fun to watch. I thought the strategy and the restarts were entertaining, for lack of a better term. But the fact of the matter is, I think that was a good race for people that like to shit on Bubba Wallace, because you know what? Whether those cautions happened or not, he was winning that race. Kyle Larson was not catching him with a 4-second lead and 10 laps to go. So good for him to win. Obviously, you wrote him up in your Action Network article pre-race, and you were all over in post qualifying and practice as well. Hitting those bets. I was on him.
Yeah, and I tweeted, like you said, you were happy for Bubba Wallace. I tweeted out like I was nearly in tears, not because I won a bet. I've won $1 billion bets. I'm not going to cry over winning a bet. I was nearly in tears because of the emotion of the moment for Bubba, and I knew how emotional of a win it was going to be for him. And you could see the emotion in his interviews, whether it was the one right on the track there or post race with TNT and sitting down at the desk with the other analysts and commentators. So it was just an emotional win, and it meant a lot to Bubba Wallace. It locked him into the playoffs. First ever open team or driver to be locked into the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, ever. And it's the third open win, but those guys weren't full-time drivers, SVG and AJ Allmendinger, when they got their open car wins. Bubba's full-time. He's eligible for the playoffs, and now he is locked into the playoffs. I guess barring some crazy circumstances where we get 5 more new winners, or I guess it's only 4 more new winners, we might be safe. But yeah, we'll have to see. If he finishes dead last every race and we get 4 brand new winners behind him or something, maybe he's not safe. If he finishes like 7, of the 17 winners, if he finishes 17th in points among the 17 winners. But I think that's not going to happen. So he's essentially locked into the playoffs. So first open car to be in the playoffs, which is pretty cool. So, just an absolutely emotional moment there for Bubba. He's worked so hard, he just has a new kid. So that's what got me teared up. I was just excited for Bubba. I'm not crying because I won a 40-1 bet. Hell, I've won 250-1, 125-1 in NASCAR, 251 in NFL, all sorts of crazy long shots. I don't go crying over those. This was all about tearing up because of the emotion of the moment. Like you said, you were extremely happy. You were smiling big after that race. So I thought that was cool. And like you said, to your point, to the other point where I kind of cut you off, wrote him up on Action, kind of we're all over him. Just a really, really exciting result too. I was proud because that was the only outright bet I made pre-practice qualifying and post-practice and qualifying.
Right. But yeah, I texted a few people after the race happened, and I'm like, I was surprised that Bubba wasn't in tears after the race, just because of the type of person he is. But yeah, it was good to see him win. Good to see how that race played out. Like I said, I thought the ending was exciting, but overall the race itself, I'd say Jeff Gluck's poll was accurate. It got a 56% yes rating. That's about where I'd put it. I will note one thing with with the Brickyard 400 is, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I that doesn't seem like that whole weekend, everything about it, nothing seemed extravagant about this race. Nothing seemed like it was a crown jewel race to me. This just felt like another race weekend. And obviously I wasn't there, but it didn't have the feel of a big race. And I understand how big it is, and maybe it's because they didn't do the Brickyard 400 for so many years. But that was just one takeaway I had from the race weekend, was it just didn't feel to me like a huge race.
I don't know. I mean, I thought it felt like a huge race, but
yeah, like I said, it could have just been me. That was just like my feeling from it. I didn't like.
I thought it was massive. Yeah. I thought the crowd. Everybody says the crowd looked bad, but they were all sitting under the shade, right? Indy has those overhangs. They were sitting in the shade, so it looked worse on TV than it was. If you saw some of the specific pictures looking under where the grandstands are, where the shade is, because it was a hot ass day out there, the crowd actually looked pretty solid under the shade. So
also, Indianapolis is fucking massive.
Yeah, it holds 300 plus thousand people.
Yeah, they said like, I think ticket sales were like 70 something thousand. Like there were 70,000 people there, and you couldn't tell at all because the place is so fucking big. Like,
yeah. Whereas if you can't even fit 70,000 people in Iowa, it doesn't hold 70,000.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's going to be double Iowa attendance at least, probably. And people are saying it's not a big crowd, but I mean, it's the Brickyard 400. To me, it's a crown jewel. Always will be. They never should have taken it off the schedule for 3 years. It was 86 or 82 cars tried to qualify for the first Brickyard 400. That tells you everything you need to know. Is this a crown jewel? Absolutely. It is a crown jewel. Kissing the bricks. Nowhere else do you do that. This is one of the big four events, in my opinion. You've got the Daytona 500, the Coca-Cola 600, you have the Darlington race, and then you have the Southern 500, and then you have the Brickyard 400. To me, those are the crown jewels, the four. Other people might say like a Talladega race or a Bristol night race. I could see arguments for those, but the guy who's mainly touting the Talladega crown jewels, Brad Keselowski, because he always wins at Talladega, or used to always win at Talladega. But I've never really heard anybody else say Talladega's a crown jewel. And then Bristol night makes sense. But I think even that's lost a little bit of the prestige that it used to have, because nobody attends that one anymore either.
Yeah. A few other takeaways here from Indianapolis. Catherine Legge gets a 17th place finish. Another solid finish for Live Fast Motorsports. Finishes on the lead lap.
I love it. There's so many people who's going to get legged this week. Who's going to get legged this week? Catherine Legge is fucking killing it. She has the two best finishes for Live Fast Motorsports outside of super speedways, outside of drafting tracks. 17th place and 19th place, which is tied second best. I mean, for an absolute shitbox of a car, she has two top 20s, which is two of the three top 20s I think that team has ever had on non-drafting tracks.
Right.
So, I mean, that's fantastic. She absolutely belongs. And you hear the radio conversation of like her spotter and her crew chief and stuff talking on like the side channel where she can't hear. And they're like, damn, if we had a chance to test with this woman, she'd be kicking everybody's ass. And because she is good. If you look at Catherine Legge, right, she's a sports car winner. She has competed in the IndyCar series with some strong runs. And she took one of the worst crashes you will ever see in IndyCar racing. It was at Road America, Elkhart Lake. Her rear wing literally fell off. Just the part failed and the rear wing falls off. And if you're in an IndyCar and the rear wing falls off, you have no downforce. Well, it happened to her at the fastest part of the track, on the fastest corner of the track, the kink, 175 miles an hour. She has absolutely nothing she can do about it. The rear wing fails. You're 100% going to lose. The car is going to spin out. Bam, smashes the wall, flying in the air. The car is exploding. She goes to the medical center. She comes back out. Totally chill, cool interview. I mean, she's, like I said, she's a 4-time winner in IMSA sports car. I mean, she finished second in the championship one year. And now obviously these are like co-driver type situations, but still, that's absolutely incredible. She is a great race car driver, and all the people shitting on her over the Phoenix race, that's really, I guess I mean, I guess in Mexico City, she made a mistake and crashed in the race, but it wasn't bad enough to hurt her race, and she still finished 19th. Like, she really hasn't made any other mistakes, especially in the Cup level. And in the Xfinity, all the problems she had in Xfinity were not of her own doing. So a bunch of people were just crapping on her after one race, saying she doesn't belong. All of them need to eat their words, because she absolutely does belong.
Mm-hmm. A few other takeaways from this race. Ty Gibbs won the in-season championship. I did not have time to go back and pull the clip of when I said that he would win it and that we should bet it 50-1, but Ty Gibbs, the in-season championship winner, he in a relatively uneventful thing there. He finished 21st. Ty Dillon finished 28th, 3 laps down. William Byron was having another good run. He runs out of gas on the last lap. He finishes 16th, so another disappointing finish for William Byron. Austin Cindric had a great car all race. I honestly thought that he had a chance to win this race. I forget what happened to him. He led 40 laps in the race, ended up finishing 15th. I think he had a pit road speeding penalty, if I remember right. John Hunter Nemechek had a ton of speed in this race. He was another one that messed up in qualifying. A lot of people messed up in qualifying, hit the wall or had something happen. Hamlin absolutely destroyed his car, but Nemechek almost comes away with a top 10 finish. I know the guys over at Win the Race were on his top 10 this last week at 4-1. He finished 12th.
I had him at plus 430. Yeah.
Did you?
I was crazy high on him all week, and he was number 1 in flags, or number 2. I think Husvar was number 1 in flags. So I had him plus 430, and I was really bummed that, he finished a couple spots out. He actually pitted from 10th or 11th really late in the race to take tires and fuel, especially in case we had multiple overtimes, which ended up biting him because he didn't end up making it back to where he was. But yeah, I was super high on John Hunter Nemechek.
Yeah, he was. I've been doing a like early week preview article for RotoBaller these last few weeks, and Nemechek was also. I wrote up for my underdogs to watch. It was Keselowski, Bubba Wallace, and John Hunter Nemechek. So I feel like both of us were pre and post race analysis just on it last week, which is just awesome. That's always fun to have happen. A nice little confidence booster in the middle of the season. Let's see. Joey Logano was leading the race late. He had a tire go down, finished 32nd. Let me see here. Oh, before I gotta mention this. Austin Hill's a fucking shitbag. And I just need to throw that out there. News broke yesterday that he is suspended for a race for right rear hooking Eric Almirola, and then not taking any accountability and getting on the radio and saying fuck NASCAR and fuck them, blah blah blah. Him and Richard Childress can both go to hell, in my opinion. That is just absolutely insane that they continue to defend that type of behavior, especially at a track like Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where speeds are so high.
Yeah, just horrendous behavior from Austin Hill. There's nothing else you can say about that. And I completely agree with NASCAR. Christopher Bell's was a mistake, not anything retaliatory, not anything intentional. It was horrible. Maybe
it looks so bad.
Maybe there should be some kind of penalty just for being a fucking idiot. Like in IndyCar, avoidable contact. Now, IndyCar is different from NASCAR, right? We want rubbing as racing in NASCAR. IndyCar avoidable contact penalty. Kyle Kirkwood got an avoidable contact penalty this past week. He punted Rinus VeeKay from behind. Now, I'm not saying it's Kirkwood's fault. I think there's a lot of extenuating circumstances I get into on that. But the moral of the story is he did punt VeeKay from behind, whether it was intentional or not. It wasn't. Whether VeeKay brake checked him or not, I think he did. Kyle got a penalty for avoidable contact. I think in NASCAR there should be something like that. Not like avoidable contact, but like, you fucked up, you got to pay a penalty for that. Like, you seriously, not like any incident. Like, I don't want NASCAR to start policing every incident, but the very obvious ones where it was very clearly egregious, even if it was accidental, just tail end or something, I mean, there's got to be, or a drive through, there's got to be some kind of penalty for something like that, because then Christopher Bell goes and finishes inside the top 5 or 6 or whatever, or 7th. I don't remember the exact number, but 8th. Yeah. And it's like, he really should get a penalty for just flat out dumping Zane Smith. I mean, that one is there isn't a single person on earth who questions whose fault that one was.
Right.
And that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where if it's something that's like that egregious, no question, and not even something that's like just racing hard, even if it is technically somebody's fault and everybody agrees it's somebody's fault. If it's racing hard, that's different. This was just flat out stupidity. And he made a mistake. So I think there should have been an in-race penalty. But yeah, Austin Hill, I've never had anything good to say about him, and I never will. Same with Richard Childress. But also I want to go back to the in-season tournament because shout outs to you for nailing that Ty Gibbs call. You actually said I had a driver, and I said I have two drivers, and my two drivers that I had in mind were Suarez and Ty Gibbs. So I bet Ty Gibbs with you 50-1 on while we were doing the podcast. So props to you. And I mean, both of us, but props to you. It's nice hitting two 50-1 bets from the same race with the Bubba Wallace 50-1 ticket I had at drop, and then Ty Gibbs 50-1 from the tournament.
Yeah. What's the takeaway from the in-season tournament for you? Do you think they run it again next year? Was it kind of interesting? I don't know. I felt like it at times it was fun to watch. I don't know. I think they're definitely going to run it again next year.
I think they should run it again next year. I think Atlanta kind of ruined it because of the monstrous wreck. And then there was just, a lot of really bad matchups, which kind of ended up okay because Ty Dillon did make his run, but theoretically there could have been a lot of like just throwing the towel matchups, but it ended up okay. But because of Atlanta, because of the two road courses, all of a sudden we had a situation where, with Ty Dillon versus Ty Gibbs, and there's no drama in the final. Absolutely none, and I don't think that's good because there was no talk about it. Absolutely no talk about it. Very few books offered it as betting, and they were talking about like, oh, we're going to have head-to-head matchups for every, matchup of the whole tournament. And like, I think maybe Caesars just gave up on it. I don't think they had a matchup. I know maybe they did like post-practice and qualifying or something, but I don't think they did pre-race. One of those. But like, it was just so much less betting opportunity there at the end, simply because the matchup was such a blowout. A few books just didn't even offer it when they were offering it earlier in the week or earlier in the tournament. So I think I do want to run it back. I love the concept, but let's get a few more tracks where they're intermediate or a Dover or, a Phoenix or I'm not saying Phoenix itself, but those kinds of New Hampshires, that you're more normal tracks. I'm fine with a wild card in there if you want to throw it in there, maybe like round 2 or something. But I would like to see the in-season tournament. Also, the seating change. The seating was stupid the way they did it.
Yep.
But I also would like to see it with just like a little bit better set of tracks so that, it really goes to, I would say, slightly more deserving, because Ty Dillon, I mean, if you look at his finishes in the tournament, he didn't have a top 10. It was, I'm trying to pull it up. He did. It was Atlanta because everybody wrecked. But aside from that, 20th, 17th, 20th, and 28th. And that's the guy who finished second in the tournament.
Right. Yeah. Which, I mean, I get that that upsets can happen in playoffs and stuff like that, or tournaments like that, but still, it's I think there's definitely some tweaks to be made to it, but overall I think it's a good concept, and it gives us something to watch, in this summer period, which is kind of what we all thought. Yeah, exactly. So
I definitely want them to run it back. I just want to see some changes, right? I want to see if they had done it, let's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If they'd done it like Sonoma, Dover, Indy, Iowa, Glen, or something, flip Richmond and Glen, that would have been good.
Mm-hmm.
Like that would have been awesome. If you start with Sonoma, a road course, where you can get a few upsets, and then whittle it down with Dover, Indy, Iowa, and Richmond, that would have been really cool.
Yeah, I definitely think they have a good concept going. They just need to improve it a little bit, and I'm confident, but I'm not confident that NASCAR will. So we'll see what happens when.
We just came off the Coca-Cola 600. What about Nashville, Michigan, Mexico City, Pocono, and then, instead of Atlanta, throw in another track there or something, or kick it off with the 600. Like, there's so many other ways this could go. I know the TV deals have a lot to do with it, and scheduling and TV deals, but like, please, NASCAR, try to schedule the tracks in the TV deal with the in-season challenge to where it's not as wild cardy.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see here. You got anything else from Indy?
From Indy? No, I mean, the main thing I wanted to touch on was Catherine Legg and Bubba Wallace. I mean,
Justin Haley finally got a good finish. He won DFS players a lot of money this week, finishing 11th there. I know he was in most of the top lineups.
Nice. I didn't even pay attention to DFS this week. Wrote up my article, but like, it was one of those, like, you have Hamlin starting in the back, and I don't know. I just hate those weeks. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't have much else from Indy. I think, it was a good week to kind of throttle back, no pun intended or anything like that, early in the week, just because I thought it was wide open. I talked to you about it. Like, I thought it was really wide open. I had basically no bets pre-practice and qualifying. I had Bubba, and I had the Buescher stage ones. And then maybe I made one more bet pre-practice and qualifying. I don't even remember. And then I had the 2 post-qualifying bets that I made, JHN top 10 and Hocevar top 5. And also screwed on Hocevar a little bit with that top 5 bet. He was a top 5 car, I think, or at least borderline. Oh, yeah. He was running 5th or 6th, 4th in the end of the race, and then lost out in that craziness of the end as well. Finished, I think, back half of the top 10. Yeah, 10th, exactly.
Yep. He kind of faded there late, but yeah, definitely. I think he was one of those that I was watching live odds for him. Yeah, I was mainly focused on Hocevar a lot during the race, and Brad Keselowski. He was my pre-race pick last week on this pod. But shifting over to the playoffs, we got 13 drivers now locked in to the postseason. Tyler Reddick now has a 138-point advantage on the cut line. Alex Bowman plus 63 and Chris Buescher plus 42. So we no longer have a super close battle between these guys on the bubble, but all it takes is one race. Chris Buescher blowing an engine on lap 1 this week at Iowa, and Ryan Preece finishing top 5, and it's close as hell. But Preece is 42 out from the bubble. Kyle Busch 81, Ty Gibbs 95. Allmendinger slipped quite a bit down to 124 under the bubble, or behind the bubble, whatever you want to say there. But yeah. So Bubba Wallace is in, Reddick should be in, and we have 4 races left until the postseason starts. So time's running out, and we'll have to see what happens with tracks like Daytona. Obviously we can get a surprise winner there, but the playoff picture is shaking up now with Bubba Wallace locking himself in.
Yeah. If you're Ryan Preece and you're out by 42 points over against Chris Buescher, your teammate, there's only 4 races left. You got to win. You're not pointing your way. You could. It's not impossible, but like, you got to think somebody else probably is going to win too, with Glenn or Austin Dillon or Richmond or Daytona, which makes it even harder because then you need to get another 21 points up to Alex Bowman. So, if you're Ryan Preece, you're sitting there 63 points behind Alex Bowman. You got to think you got to win. And they asked him on TV, like, what's your best chance to win? And he said, all of them. And, he's I have to win mode. So if you're Ryan Preece or back, you got to win. Especially everybody behind Ryan Preece. Like, there's no way Kyle Busch or Ty Gibbs are pointing their way in. There's like the most outside shot that Ryan Preece could. But also, if you're Chris Buescher and Alex Bowman, you got to think you need a win, because you got to think there could be a new winner at Daytona.
The issue is, how aggressive do those guys get? Because there's a thin line. If you gamble and you lose 20 points on a race, that's 20 very valuable points. If you run out of gas going for a win and you finish 23rd instead of winning,
Yep.
That's a decision that some of these crew chiefs could have to make over these next few weeks, is whether to do it, whether to take those gambles or not. And I think part of that, this is kind of a side tangent, but I think that's why I don't particularly enjoy betting this part of the season as much. I had 2 bets on my betting card for Indianapolis. It was Bubba Wallace top 10 and Chase Briscoe to win stage 1. That's it. Because I don't like betting this time of year because of all those outside variables that could completely change the way anything happens. I don't like it. And I like watching it. Don't get me wrong. I just don't like betting it. Again, side note there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting how these crew chiefs, when they're presented, if and when they're presented situations to make decisions like that, what they end up doing and how aggressive they want to get. With guys like Chris Buescher, Alex Bowman, Ryan Preece. Like you said, Ryan Preece is probably in gotta win mode. But
what do you think is the best path to? So I did count. We have 13 winners. What do you think the best path is to 17 winners? Which means we need 4 new ones in the next 4 races. For me, I'm gonna say at Iowa, I think it has to be probably. I would go either Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or Noah Gregson for like a new winner outside, not talking like Buescher, Bowman, Reddick, like an outside one. I mean, I guess they could be new winners too to give us 17. So, maybe Buescher or Bowman technically. I think at Glenn, obviously, then. All right, I'll do 4 without Bowman, Buescher, and Reddick, and I'll do 4 with Bowman, Buescher, and Reddick. But I think without, it has to go like Stenhouse at Iowa, Allmendinger at Glenn, Austin Dillon at Richmond, and Cody Ware at Daytona. Whoever at Daytona,
Yeah, whoever.
And then I think with those other 3, I think it's Iowa. I would probably say Buescher maybe, and then Glenn, either Allmendinger or Reddick. Richmond, either Dillon or Bowman, and then Daytona, anybody.
So I'm with you there. I think we're all on the same page that the most obvious choice at the Glen is probably AJ Allmendinger. Could also throw in Michael McDowell though.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
And Ty Gibbs. So there's possibilities there. You got 3 very capable guys sitting there 19th, 20th, and 21st in points that could win at Watkins Glen. Richmond, yes. Give me Austin Dillon for the 2nd year in a row. Maybe someone like a Kyle Busch comes in and has Austin Dillon had last year and he gets it done. Potentially Ryan Preece. But yeah, favorite once again, Austin Dillon at Richmond. Iowa, Stenhouse had a good run here last year. Could see him repeat that. One guy we're not really talking about, though, Brad Keselowski.
I was going to say Keselowski or Hocevar.
Yeah. So it's definitely I would not be surprised if it would be a little shocking if we got 4 new winners over the next 4 races. But at the same time, if it did happen, if Keselowski wins this week and if Allmendinger wins at the Glen, and then all of a sudden we get Austin Dillon at Richmond,
or Kyle Busch, or Preece.
Yeah, we're gonna be sitting here on this episode and being like, yeah, that was amazing, and it was a little surprising. But when you think about it, it really wasn't that surprising. So what I'm rooting for. I root for this every year. I hope Tyler Reddick misses the playoffs this year. That's what I want to see, because like you said, Daytona, anything can happen. So I still think there's a clear path for us to get 16, 17 different winners in this regular season, even though we only have 4 races left and we only have 13 winners right now.
Yep, I agree with you. And one other thing I noticed, and I've talked about this person a lot on Twitter, or I should say at least a couple times on Stacking Dennys, but Daniel Cespedes on Twitter, _ Daniel Cespedes. He talked about, he tweeted today, Chase Elliott's the only driver who scored 20 more points in every race this season. But the next point is something I talked about last week, and I want to emphasize again this week. SVG is the only driver in the bottom 12 who had a 40-plus point race. He's done it 4 times, but all 4 were road courses. If you remove road courses, SVG his peak points is third worst, tied second worst, I should say, behind Cody. Cody Ware. Cody Ware actually has one ahead of him. So if you remove road courses, he's tied worst with Riley Herbst, I think. But he's absolutely in the bottom three if you remove road courses, or absolutely bottom two if you remove road courses. I think Cody Ware, he had one on a drafting track, but if you remove drafting tracks too, SVG is second or third worst on non-drafting ovals, let's say, and removing road courses is non-drafting ovals. So that shows you how bad he's been this year, everywhere except drafting tracks and and obviously road courses. And he finished 19th at Indy. He benefited from the qualifying washout. They didn't wash out qualifying. He had a good qualifying effort, but he kind of faded throughout the race. Also had a problem, I think, right near the start of the race. Is that correct? No, I don't think so. That was the race before Dover. Mixing my weeks, but yeah, just wanted to point that out. That he has 3 wins, but I'm still kind of on the side of like, if you were fine with Harrison Burton being in, I know a lot of people weren't, then you have to be fine with SVG. But also, if you weren't fine with Harrison Burton being in, I think you probably shouldn't be fine with SVG being in, because it's essentially one-trick pony land.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, so there's a clear path for different winners, and it's looking at the point standings now after 22 races. We have a battle for the regular season points championship coming up. So 4 races left before we crown this champion. Chase Elliott, the leader, by 4 points now over William Byron after him running out of gas. 15 points, Kyle Larson's behind them, or Chase Elliott. In third, Hamlin is 20 points back in fourth with 1 less race, by the way.
Yep.
So this is a four-legged race here for this regular season points championship, which obviously bears quite a bit of weight because you get those extra 15 playoff points as well. So Chase Elliott wins the regular season championship. He only has 6 playoff points right now. He wins that. All of a sudden, he's got 21. He's sitting with the third most playoff points in the postseason to start out. So huge thing to watch over these next 4 races is this points battle, and hopefully broadcast gives the same kind of attention to that as they did the in-season tournament, because this is a nice little battle that we have going on.
I want to touch on a couple points here with that, and both of them relate to Denny Hamlin. First of all, he missed a race, right, with the birth of his child, third child. I mean, if you give him, let's say 50, it's Mexico City, right? He's not amazing at road and street courses these days. He's not awful at them. I mean, he had that solid run at the Chicago street course, but let's say you give him 15 points, right? All of a sudden he's at 721. He's a point behind William Byron. So that's looming large for sure, but he did the right thing. I mean, you absolutely, got to be there for your significant other, especially when it was a difficult, what I heard was a difficult labor, and all that stuff. So especially because the baby was so late. So I think that's kudos to Denny Hamlin for that part, for that, but also that looms large. And B, going back to Indy, and I think this is interesting. We had an interesting scenario after the rain delay where we had 2 restarts, and the front 4 drivers were Bubba Wallace, Kyle Larson, William Byron, and Denny Hamlin. So Bubba chose the inside. Larson chooses the outside of the front row. And then we have an interesting spot where if you're William Byron, what do? Do you go with your teammate on the outside, or do you push him, or do you take the inside? And Byron took the inside thinking that was his best chance to win. And then Denny Hamlin took the inside. I could not believe Denny Hamlin decided to line up on the third row and take the inside, especially knowing with William Byron not pushing Kyle Larson, not pushing Bubba Wallace, because he's not going to help Kyle Larson, or he's not really going to help Bubba, I should say, because it helps Larson kind of deal. Like, I thought Denny might take the outside and just not help Larson to kind of benefit Bubba. But Denny lined up the inside, and you watch the restarts, Denny bails on that inside line quickly too. So he's not pushing Byron into Bubba Wallace. He's sitting there not helping Bubba Wallace. So I thought that was, in a way, cool that everybody was racing for themselves at the end.
Yeah.
Byron wasn't helping Larson by laying off Bubba, but Denny wasn't pushing Byron into Bubba. They were all for themselves. Thank God. That was refreshing to see because we saw a lot of team shenanigans and Bubba was involved in the shenanigans, Martinsville last year in the playoffs, and or manufacturer shenanigans in the playoffs there. And, a lot of penalties were doled out because of that, but it was refreshing to see. I didn't like it particularly as a Bubba better, but it all worked out in the end.
Yeah. I noticed that, that was obviously a big deal as well. But if you think about it, Byron, it actually hurts Byron if he pushes his teammate to the win.
Yeah, exactly.
In the playoffs. And one thing I did notice is Josh Berry gave Kyle Larson a huge push in that first restart. After the rain delay he did. The second one, though, which I thought was interesting, if you watched his RPMs, he laid off. He did not push Larson on that second one. He got off the gas. I'm not sure why.
Larson screwed up anyway. He got super loose or wiggly in the first turn there, which allowed Bubba to clear him. But I don't know why Josh Berry laid off on the second.
I think, did he run out of gas? Because he ended up finishing 22nd.
He did. Yes.
He ran out of gas.
One of the ones that ran out of gas along with Byron. So that's possibly some of it.
Right. I'm wondering if his, the gas intake kind of messed up or something. But
I think maybe he started in second gear instead of first gear because that's that lower RPM. You save more gas that way. So I'm guessing he restarted in second gear on purpose, intentionally. Would be my guess. But also, again, and I know we're talking season-long point standings, but Denny Hamlin doing everything he could to maximize his point standings there. Even potentially at the expense of the car he owns. But also kudos to Bubba. I mean, he's always been prideful of his restarts. He's one of the best restarters in the business, and he beat arguably the best restarter in the business, Kyle Larson, twice.
Yeah, it was twice. And on new tires,
2 tires instead of 4.
I don't. If I heard Steve Letarte say one more time how important tires were, I was gonna fucking fly to Indy and say something to his face.
Yeah.
I don't know if NBC or NASCAR or someone was in his ear saying, or USA or whoever broadcast it, was mentioned tires or something. But holy shit, we watched that entire race. Tires not mean a damn thing, and every single chance he got, he was saying how important tires were, and I'm just sitting here like, what the fuck am I missing? What am I missing?
Yeah.
You are in delusional land, bud. But yeah, you got anything else on these point standings?
I do not. I do think we should touch on a couple of news items before we move on to Iowa.
Chicagoland's back.
Chicagoland back. And Mexico City confirmed. Or, I'm sorry, Mexico City's out and San Diego confirmed. So we essentially lose a road and street course, which puts us down to 5 because, you shift essentially the Chicago street course date, or I shouldn't say date, but race to the San Diego race, and you shift the Mexico City race to the Chicagoland race in terms of just like flip-flopping on the schedule. So we lose a road and street course to go back from 6 to 5 again.
I'm fine with that. I'm excited to see Chicagoland come back. And I'm happy that NASCAR is kind of listening to what people want.
Did you see that Dale Jr. tweeted, "We're not done yet with the potential."
Yeah, he said there's a bigger domino coming.
Yeah, or another big domino coming.
Yeah, I think what we're gonna get is a 3-race thing for the championship. I think they're gonna severely tweak the championship format next year.
I hope so.
I think that's my prediction for what the next domino is going to be.
I hope so. Yeah, I definitely hope so. I don't think they're going to keep the same format. I just don't know what the new format's going to be. There's still going to be a playoff. I just don't know how it's going to look.
Okay,
go ahead.
Another news article here. TNT ratings slightly lower than Prime Video.
Which is wild because Prime Video is straight up a streaming service, and
exactly
TNT's TV. I mean, you can get it on internet and streaming. I use YouTube TV for my TNT, but you get the point. It's a combination of both for TNT and slightly lower than Prime Video.
I think that's a good sign. I hope Prime. I hope they continue to excel, and I'm excited to where that goes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Prime Video, of the 3 companies so far this year that have done races, has flat out been the best. TNT clearly second, Fox clearly dead last. So we'll see where NBC this season fits in the hierarchy. If it's like years past, it would probably be, neck and neck with TNT, I would say. I think Prime Video clearly was the best if you compare it to last year's NBC. But maybe NBC does something fantastic this year. We'll see.
Yeah. Fox Sports, I would rank like from just a visual perspective, okay? So just watching, I would rank Fox Sports below FM radio. As far as
yeah.
Like that's how fucking bad they are.
Yeah. I agree.
Anyway. Any other news that I missed?
I know we're a Cup Series, but let's all send our best wishes to Stuart Friesen. Really sucks. Stuart Friesen locked himself into the truck playoffs with a win, which is hugely important because, he's the owner of his team. He is a one-car team. He owns his team. It's, we love seeing that kind of stuff where drivers invest in the sport, even if it's just for themselves. And, a lot of them struggle to do well. You think maybe Robbie Gordon when he had owned his own team, that kind of thing. But it's because they love racing. And when you get talented racers like Robbie Gordon, like a Tony Stewart, like a Stuart Friesen, who own their own team and are willing to race in the NASCAR series, whichever one it is, you want to see them continue to do so. And this injury, if you guys don't know, Stuart Friesen was injured at a dirt track race, I believe it was, or a sprint car event up in Canada a couple days ago. And it was one of the most horrific wrecks I've ever seen in any type of car and anything. But he has, I'm going to read the exact injury here. He has a unstable open book pelvic fracture, meaning it's broken in multiple places with a large hematoma on the area. And he also fractured his leg. So he's going to have multiple surgeries. And I actually asked a doctor acquaintance of mine, and my first question was like, is he going to be back for the playoffs? Because he's locked in. It starts end of August for the truck series. He's absolutely no. This is a very risky and unstable fracture. It's going to require surgery. And then we hear, of course, multiple surgeries and possibly miss the rest of the year. And he said, it's a bad injury. Most normal people, and he doesn't know Stuart Friesen. So I'm going to put Stuart Friesen in the normal people population because he's not a young guy and he's not the most athletic guy. But he said most normal people, that would set him back possibly close to a year, if not more. So Stuart Friesen absolutely done for the year, in my opinion. And it's really unfortunate because, I don't necessarily root for him, but you never want to see that happen to a guy. And, especially somebody as talented him and investing in the sport. And hopefully he can, put a driver in that car. But hopefully we just don't lose an entry, from that. And that all remains to be seen. So just sending our best wishes to Stuart Friesen. But it doesn't sound like the best updates, unfortunately.
Yeah. That I think I saw a tweet today that he was coming home. So that's potentially a little bit of positive news.
Sure. Yeah. But it sounds like it's, an injury that's going to be, unfortunately, sticking around for a while. And I would guess his season is probably done. I'm pulling up his stuff here. Stuart Friesen is 42 years old. So he's older than me. He actually just turned 42 the other day. Over this past weekend. So just turned 42 and, really brutal wreck, and just wishing him the best. And hopefully that driver can recover and the team can keep pushing on as well.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else news-wise? I think
let's talk Iowa.
Oh, yeah. All right. Iowa Speedway, the site of this weekend's race number 23 of the NASCAR Cup Series season. Last year, Ryan Blaney dominated the thing, led 201 laps, started second, finished first, won the first stage. An interesting thing about Iowa, and it's going to be, I think, depending on what betting lines are, but this is a very short first stage. So the stages this week at Iowa are broken down into 70 laps for the first stage and then 140 laps for stage 2 and the final stage. So very, very short stage 1. But Ryan Blaney won it last year, 201 of the 350 laps he led. Kyle Larson was very fast on the pole. I forget what happened to him. I don't remember this race at all. Kyle Larson, he finished 34th. One stage 2, finished second in stage 1, led 80 laps. But it was Blaney, Byron, Elliott, the top 3 last year. Christopher Bell finished 4th. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished 5th after starting 35th. Alex Bowman started 30-30, finished 8th. Josh Berry has a very good race last year. Started 3rd, led 32 laps. He finished 7th, finished 2nd in stage 2. A couple of lower mid-tier to lower guys that had good races last year. Todd Gilliland, who I just said came off that 6th place finish at Indianapolis last week. He finished 12th at Iowa last year. Justin Haley in that Rick Ware racing car finished 13th. Noah Gragson was 16th. Sports books are kind of split this week as far as the favorites go. They kind of opened as, several drivers were the favorites. But pretty much we're looking at Ryan Blaney, Christopher Bell, Denny Hamlin, and Kyle Larson as the four kind of the four-headed monster heading into Iowa this weekend. Do you agree with that? Any disagreement there?
I mean, anecdotally, probably those are the 4 favorites, but I honestly have no idea. I've not really looked at Iowa much so far this week. NFL's around the corner, so been getting a lot of NFL work done. But yeah, I would say anecdotally, I mean, it's essentially going to be Larson and Hamlin every week. And then you look at last year, Blaney, and then Bell at short flats. So yeah, I think that makes sense. But we only have one race there, and it was the first race. And a lot of this, like you mentioned, Justin Haley or Ricky Stenhouse Jr. or Noah Gragson had a lot of speed. Different guys did well on some of the medium and smaller teams. Going to be harder in year 2, I think, now that these big teams have a year's worth of data. Again, we're going to have different tires and stuff, so that'll possibly level things. But I just think having a year of setup data, even without the tire stuff, is massive for some of these bigger teams. So I think we'll see a little more separation this year, but it's still only the second race, so it's tough to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Goodyear's bringing a new tire setup to this. This track is 0.875 miles in length, but there was a June test, Goodyear tire test here in June 3rd and 4th. Kyle Busch, Austin Cindric, and Chase Briscoe were the 3 drivers that participated in that. So yeah, we got a brand new set of tires coming this weekend. 1 race here at Iowa in the Cup Series. So a little bit difficult to handicap as far as, previous track history, but overall, short flat tracks are kind of what we're all throwing in here. What would you say is the most comparable track to Iowa right now?
Phoenix for sure.
Yeah.
1 mile track, probably closer on tire wear, definitely closer on tire than Richmond, but probably one of the closest on tire wear as well. We've started to see, tire wear at New Hampshire. New Hampshire's a lot flatter, different shaped. Certainly not Martinsville. Richmond, high tire wear. Maybe a little bit of Gateway, just in terms of size and speed and tire wear. But Phoenix is probably the best comp.
Mm-hmm. So Phoenix earlier this year, William Byron led 83 laps from the pole, finished 6th. It was Christopher Bell, as many of us suspected going into that race weekend, that took the win. He led 105 laps. Josh Berry came home with a top 5 finish in that race. Zane Smith came home with a top 10 finish. So a couple lower mid to lower tier guys that had good finishes at Phoenix last year, like I said, or earlier this year. Last year, like I said, Todd Gilliland almost ran. He qualified 14th, finished 12th here at Iowa last year. So we can potentially see guys like that having good races here. Had a comment from on here a little bit ago discussing drivers that could be first-time winners at Iowa. Any thoughts on Zane Smith this weekend? Honestly, earlier today I bet him for a top 10 on FanDuel 14-1. I had to hit that. Ninth at Phoenix earlier this year. Like you said, he's had pretty good speed lately. My arch nemesis, I bet him top 10 this week. But I don't see him winning.
No, I don't see him winning at all. Qualified 26th last year. Didn't run great, and then ended up having a rough day last year at Iowa. Did much better at Phoenix, like we said, this year. So I think that's probably closer to what we can expect as far as like a ceiling is. A top 10 out of Zane Smith, and I don't mind the top 10 bet. Just as far as the win, I'm not there at all. Not there at all whatsoever. I think if we're gonna have a surprise winner, it's gonna be from the same stable of guys that we've talked about, whether it's Keselowski, Hocevar, Priest, Kyle Busch. If we get a outside of the top, the playoff standings winner, or maybe a Stenhouse just because of his last year performance, and he's been really good at Iowa throughout his Xfinity career as well. But I mean, more like if we get a new winner, it's going to be Reddick, Bowman, or Buescher. Let's be real.
Yep. Speaking of, so Bowman top 10 at Phoenix this year. He had a good run here at Iowa last year, even though he started 33rd, he finished 8th, and even had the 8th best driver rating in that race. FanDuel has him plus 240 for a top 10 this week. That's one that stuck out to me as far as those drivers in that range that I really like those odds.
Completely agree with you there. Yeah, he should be fine. He was good at Iowa last year. Like you said, went from 30s into the top 10. If he starts even closer to the front, he has an even better chance of finishing inside the top 10. So I think Bowman's one of the most underrated drivers by the betting markets this week.
Yep. Let's see here. I just got DraftKings pulled up here. Keselowski sitting at 35-1. What about last week's winner, Bubba Wallace? What do you think of him this weekend?
I don't really know what to think. Again, I haven't dug into Iowa too much, but I don't really know what to think. He seems hit or miss at these types of tracks. Like, he can have some good Phoenix races, and actually I thought he was having a good Phoenix race. Wasn't it the one where Blaney accidentally kind of wrecked them all earlier this year, or am I mistaken? Yeah, I think Blaney made a mistake and ended up, Bubba getting caught in that wreck from Blaney's mistake there. He didn't realize Bubba was on his outside and wrecked them both. So I don't know. I think it'll be potentially hit, potentially miss for Bubba. The other thing is, they can use this as a test essentially for Phoenix.
Right. Yeah. Let me see here. Todd Gilliland is another top 10 bet that I made earlier today. He opened 10-1 at FanDuel. So whenever I get those kind of odds on our boy Gilly, I like to bet him. And he does relatively well at short flat tracks. So 12th here last year. I'll take 10-1 on Gilly all day.
Yep. Yeah. I can't hate on that at all. I agree. But I think there's some interesting ones out there. If we look at like top 10 odds, like I don't hate AJ Allmendinger at 16-1 for a top 10.
I was thinking that exact same thing. He's never finished well here in the Xfinity Series or in the Cup Series, but that 16 car on just intermediate tracks in general, it's been fast this year. Not just like he's been consistently fast. Yeah. He's had speed every single time. So I'm there with you. 16-1. That was another. I thought it was a typo.
Yeah, I mean, he started in the teens, like back half of the teens last year. I think like 18th, and ended up running around 15th or 16th after the first set of pit stops, and then something happened. He fell back and then ended up crashing. I don't remember exactly. I didn't watch the race back, but it sounds like there was potential in that car and things just went awry and then he crashed. So we'll see. He only made the one start in Xfinity as well. He finished 37th. And so there's not a lot of data to go by on AJ Allmendinger at Iowa. So it's tough to say, but Phoenix has also never been one of his best tracks if we want to be real with ourselves. So, the 16 could make sense in that case, both just in Xfinity and in Cup. Phoenix has never really been a stellar track for him, especially in more recent years. 2011 when he's running with Richard Petty, he finished 9th and 6th at Phoenix, 6th and 9th, if we want to put it that way. Nice. But like since he joined JTG and Colleague, he hasn't been great at Phoenix. And that was also after the current, kind of reconfiguration, dogleg, cut the corner deal. I think his best finish is 12th or something at Phoenix, which he's done a couple times. So like the 16 makes sense, but it also, like you said, that team's been having some good runs, and wouldn't surprise me if they had a good run this weekend.
Let's see here. You mentioned Noah Gragson earlier this week, and we're talking, or I've talked about the other two front row guys so far. So yeah, what are we thinking about Gragson? Where did he finish last year? 16th in that Stewart Haas car. So he could be one of those low tier guys to keep an eye on this week.
Yeah, and Gragson was really fast in practice. He had the fastest practice speed. And if you look at 10-lap averages, he was kind of a mid-pack, but he made his 10-lap average early. And because I was new, we had like a long practice session, and teams I think got 2 sets of tires, and the track got faster, and he didn't make a 10-lap run in the second half of the session. So like if you adjust it for when they made their 10-lap run, like Gragson looked awesome in practice. He ended up qualifying 23rd and ended up finishing better than he qualified. But I think it's part of that's just, Stewart Haas was on their way out, and Stewart Haas did not have a great race last year aside from Josh Berry. Gragson was the second best Stewart Haas finisher. Preece and Briscoe were out to lunch. They finished 27th and 28th. So tough to gauge, but knowing there was some upside for Gragson just based off of, practice, I think there's some interest in him, but I also think the market kind of adjusted for that, right? Like he looks like he's, in a spot where plus 850, I think it was at FanDuel last time I saw for a top 10. I mean, Dinger's 16 and Gregson's 8 almost. Like, it's so hard to go Gragson at plus 850 when, like you said, you get Zane at 11, or you killed Gilly's odds, but Gilly was 10 or whatever you said at Open as well at FanDuel.
Yeah. But yeah, Zane's still available at 11. And yeah, just running off of speed this year, like you said, Allmendinger, he's not great at this track type, but he has much more speed than what Gragson has had. Gragson most weeks is finishing like 30th. So I'd rather roll the dice on someone like an Allmendinger here over a Gragson. I feel like Gragson plus 850 is accurately priced, whereas Allmendinger, it's a bit too long. But
yeah, I will say Iowa's been good for Gragson. When he was, raw young kid 8 years ago, 2017, he finished 6th in the Truck Series as a rookie, and then the next year he finished 2nd at Iowa in the Truck Series. And then if we go to Xfinity, he finished 6th and 4th in 2019 in his rookie year in Xfinity. And then just add in, what we saw last year, just in terms of potential speed from him, could be a good track for him. It really could be a good track for him. He finished 12th at Phoenix last year, and that's garbage. Both Phoenix races in that garbage Stewart Haas car, but 26th this year at Phoenix in the front row motorsports car. I wonder if he had more speed and just had a bad result or a bad race or something. Nah, he qualified 33rd. Just kind of looked like he sucked. He finished 9 laps down, so I assume something happened.
Yeah,
I don't remember what happened with Phoenix, but yeah. Did he get Catherine Legg? No, I'm just kidding. I know that was Suarez.
One thing to note from last year to this year, like you said, we have one race on or at Iowa in the Cup Series, but last year's race was also Sunday night. That race didn't get going till 7 p.m. Eastern time. So
that's a good point.
Something to keep in mind this year, my mantra when it comes to races in the next gen car, we see a lot of the same stuff happen from me at the same track. But that is a major difference thing in addition to the new tires this week. So we could see some differences. Don't rely super heavy on Iowa, I guess, from last year would be.
I was just there a couple weeks ago for the IndyCar race. It got hot and the track was, slick and you could pass in the IndyCar race more than the previous year. So an extra year of aging. I know there's kind of the new lower line repave, but I do think we'll see a better race than last year. Also, again, different tire, heat of the day. I think, it's going to be a different race from what we saw last year.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those races, I think, with guys like Gregson and a lot of stuff. I want to see practice and qualifying before I
haven't made a bet yet. Week. Yeah, I haven't. Yeah. I literally not made a bet.
Yeah, obviously I've mentioned 3 bets that I really like, and 2 of them I've already made. Which those are just I'm not going to pass up the 10 and 14 odds on Gilliland and Zane because I really love those odds. And then Bowman would be my other one that I make just because I think after practice and qualifying, I think he's going to be in that plus 100 range. So I'd rather lock that in because it's an outlier for me to get Bowman at, plus 240 right now. But other than that, I'm not jumping to bet anything this week.
I have to record Running Hot in about 3 hours, so I'll find something. Even if it's just leans, I'll find something. I haven't had, like I said, a ton of time to dive in, but I have last year's data pulled up, ready to kind of dive in.
Top 10 plus 240. That might be my new favorite. I don't know if you see me.
But yeah, I'll figure something out. But I literally have not made a single bet this week on the NASCAR Cup Series race. Well, I actually haven't made a bet this week at all on anything.
Let's see here. You got anything else from or for Iowa before we get to our picks and stuff? Do you think this race is as wide open as you thought Indy was? How about that?
No. I think Indy was more wide open, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Just, dude, look at Ricky Stenhouse's record at Iowa.
I know.
Fucking Xfinity Series, 14th, but it was his rookie year. Well, I guess 22nd in his pre-rookie year where he raced only a few races. 14th is rookie year. But then first, and 5th at Iowa in the Xfinity Series. And one of those was the infamous, he blew an engine coming to the checkered flag while running first. And in second place was Carl Edwards, who was his teammate. And because of the smoke, Edwards couldn't see where he was going. He plowed into Stenhouse, knocked him across the start-finish line. So Stenhouse blew an engine and still won the race.
God, that's awesome. That's the type of ending I want to see I want to see that in a championship race.
And then, like I said, we go back to last year. He finishes 5th at Iowa. And it's kind of interesting because we got the Iowa repave right before last year's race, at least on the low line. And 2011, 2012, that was a much younger aged Iowa track than in 22, 23, 20, 19, etc. So this could be another Ricky Stenhouse race.
Mm-hmm, for sure. All right. Anything else before we get to our picks?
Now let's get to them.
All right. I got to pull it up. I have 3 windows open right now. And the one that has the picks to win spreadsheet I have is frozen. So luckily this stream is still going, but I gotta open it up on here. Okay. Last week you had Hocevar, which, like you said, solid in speed, just didn't quite get the finish. He finished 10th. I had Brad Keselowski in the picks to win. He finished 5th. I'm now on a 4-race streak of top 5 finishes for my pick to win. Makes me happy. Who are you going with this week? It's your turn to pick first.
I think this one's tough. This one is very tough. I don't know who to pick. I'm going to go with Christopher Bell.
Damn it. That's what I was going to go with. Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong with Bell this week. I did a very sloppy early week numbers run for me, and Bell was a clear number one. Again, didn't tweak it or anything, just ran it. But
I mean, look at him in Xfinity, second, first, second at Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, we've seen all his Phoenix.
We've seen his Phoenix dominance, and 4th last year at Iowa. So yeah, Bell.
Yeah, Bell's a solid choice. Let me see here. Do I want to go a little bit outside the box? Do I want to feel like I'm on a good run here? Let me think. I want to pick someone crazy, but I'm going to go kind of outside the box here. This one might surprise you.
You going Chase Elliott?
Nope.
Oh, then I don't know.
You're not going to like this one.
Joey
Logano. Read my mind. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like this gut feeling I have. I think it seems like a Logano steals a victory type of week to me. And
I thought last week was Logano steals the victory type week, and then he blew the tire and
right.
But yeah, last week seemed like that too. But no, I agree. I can definitely understand that with Logano, especially Blaney winning last year. By the way, we didn't do a wine about it, but I'm having the purple. I finally opened one of my purples. I have 2 purples, so just cracked it open here, and
I do have a quick wine about it. If you have one,
let's go for it.
All right. I'll go first if you don't mind.
Sure.
Mine's quick. So big topic in social media or on social media as always is the playoff format. Full season points, playoffs, blah, blah, blah. And a lot of people want the full season points, but they don't want someone to run away with it. And that's why this playoff system got implemented, is they didn't want people locking up a championship with 2 races to go, or having to be on or they could be on cruise control for the last 2 weeks and win it. But here's my thing. Sometimes guys are just that much better. Sometimes Kyle Larson kicks the shit out of everybody and wins the race by 14 seconds. Sometimes SVG wins the race by 14 seconds. And the same thing happens with a season. So I don't think that full season points and someone running away with it is a bad thing, because if Kyle Larson has a 10-win season, he deserves to be the champion, and he deserves to run away with it. If anything, it should be that much more impressive that he wins the championship running away with it. So the people that get on here and I understand the drama of wanting a game 7 and wanting all of that, wanting the excitement. Yes, that's awesome. We all enjoy that to some aspect, but the fact of the matter is it's not necessary and it shouldn't be forced. While I'm in support of this playoff system, if they tweak it a little bit, it's fine. I don't think you can say that you hate the playoffs, but you also don't want a full season or someone to run away with something full season. Because the fact of the matter is it just happens sometimes. Or we have seasons like this right now where you have 4 people right in the thick of things. So that's my whine about it. People kind of playing both sides of the fence there. I don't like it. But the fact of the matter is, and I think I've said that like 4 times now, fact of the matter. But sometimes people just beat the shit out of other people, and that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing for Kyle Larson to win a race like he did it at Kansas this year, for SVG to win like he did at Mexico City. So that's my whine about it.
Or Alex Palou at wherever he wins his races at. I mean, dude's gone crazy this year. I agree with you, and I'll tag on to your one about it. This is not mine, but I'll tag on to you. everybody wants to also fix the point system. And so they come up with these point systems, or look how close the points would be if we just did it on. And you're saying it now, like, look how close. If we didn't have the playoffs, or if we had whatever, these teams and drivers would be racing these races completely different.
Right.
They're racing the current system. You can't say, well, look how close the points are, and say they would have been close if we did a season-long format. Because if we did a season-long format, maybe they wouldn't be close. You know what I mean? All these different strategies, maybe these teams take less risks or more risks, or who knows? But they're racing a different format, racing a different system than if we just said, look at the points, right? So that always bothers me because, yeah, we have a great points battle right now, but it's under this system for this playoff format, for this regular season only right now, and these teams and drivers would be racing things different in certain circumstances, especially at like road courses or your Indies or Poconos where you can, flip a stage still, that kind of stuff. But just in general, or if we didn't have stage points, or if we did have stage points, all these things are completely different. You can't just use the old Winston Cup points because we have stage points now. And, all that stuff's just annoying. My whine about it. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, don't get me wrong. It's somewhat fun to look at, like, what would the points be now if it was the old system? But yeah, you're right. It's not even an apples and oranges comparison. It's apples and potatoes. Yeah. It's just so different. But
all right, it's my turn. And again, I got the purple. It's delicious. You love it. I love it. Get Iowa wines, especially their flagship purple brand. It's purple brand. It's good. So mine's going to be annoying, but, I've seen people say, stop talking about the fact that Bubba Wallace is the first black driver to win a crown jewel or the Brickyard. I'm okay with talking about it. He is the first black driver to win a crown jewel event, one of the biggest races, especially in how he won it by winning it 3 times, essentially. He had to win it 3 times. He had a 5-second lead. That got whittled down to a 3.5-second lead when the rain came, but he probably still would have held it given the rate at Larson was closing was not fast enough. Then he held him off in 2 different restarts. So this is like the first time where we can be like, there's not an excuse for Bubba Wallace, even though people will still make excuses. I have never thought there's an excuse for his wins, but that's aside from the point. And I'm going to go with Bob Pockrass. And this is good for the sport. If you want those with the most natural talent to compete for spots in the sports, this is Bob Pockrass' quote. You have a better chance if those with talent view it as achievable. I'm of the belief when you see someone who looks like you do it, there's more belief in the path. And I think it's important to highlight we've had Raja Caruth win this year. We've had Miles Rowe in Indy NXT and now Bubba Wallace. And I think that is all things that are good to highlight because that gives more belief in the path. No, your skin color doesn't determine your talent level in a race car. But, at the same time, imagine if we just never talked about Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier or things like that. And I'm not comparing this directly to that, but you can't just say it's not important, but because it is. I don't want to make it a bigger deal than it is at the same time, but at the same time, it's important to a lot of people. And I do think we all want the best talent in the series to get there. And the way to get more talent in the series is to have people believing in the path. And so that's all. That's kind of my whine about it is, I think it is important to talk about.
And the people that are pushing it down, they also have the mindset of the race things getting pushed down their throats and they don't like it. So they're trying to like offset it, and and that's not the point. Like, we both agree. Like race shouldn't be the main thing, but it also needs to be, there's a fine line in it still being,
you can still acknowledge
recognized.
It. Yes. You can still acknowledge it. And nobody's shoving it down anybody's throat, but I mean, Bubba Wallace has won 3 races. It's not being shoved down your throat that a black guy won every race. Right. But it is important to acknowledge a little fact of history.
Yeah, for sure. In agreement there. But yeah, Wine About It, presented by Iowa Winery and the Brew Kettle. Make sure you check them out. iowabella.com. Brew Kettle also, they have I don't know if I showed you it. Have you seen the Brew Kettle's new beer that they just released? So they're
I
doing
have.
something
Yeah.
with retro video games, and it looks like the old school Donkey Kong.
Yes.
Oh, it looks so freaking cool.
I'm gonna have to get some of those.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, I'm wearing an Atari shirt right now.
Yes. I'm gonna have to tweet that picture out. If you guys follow me on Twitter, if we're listening now, I'll tweet a picture out. It looks so awesome. Like as soon as I saw it, I was like, I need that can. I don't care if it has anything in it or not. Like obviously I want the beer, but that can is so badass. So yeah. Make sure you check them out along with RotoBaller, Brew Kettle as well. 36-36. Hey, we got when me and you picked the same driver, we have some good results. So we both had Bubba Wallace last week at Indy. He scored us 50 points. I have not updated Nick our owner points on here, so those are a little bit off. But so you and I both had Bubba Wallace at Indy. He scored 50 points there. We both had SVG at Chicago Street Course. He scored 40 points there. We both had Ty Gibbs at Bristol. He scored 40 points there. Are we seeing a trend? When we're on the same page, we have good results. We both
other than
had
Mexico.
I'm skipping that one for a reason. we both had Ryan Preece at Martinsville. We got 35 points out of Ryan Preece at Martinsville. Tyler Reddick screwed us a little bit at Mexico. He got us 17 points. But we were both coming off a win in 36-36. Very not important, but shit, what word am I thinking of? Valuable. There we go. Valuable 50 points out of Bubba Wallace in this one and done game. Who's your pick for Iowa? Because there's a lot of ways we can go here. Both of us have some. I know who you're picking. I can see it right now.
No, I'm just highlighting the.
Oh no, I was just looking at your available drivers, and I know who you're. I think I know who you're picking.
Well, because you're talking about our plus minus, at least versus last week's points per race on the 5 drivers we picked together is plus 131 versus there, and that's over 5, and that's including a minus 13.5 from Reddick.
Right.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's times 2, right? Divide that by 2. So 65.5 plus 65.5. That's still really good. Over 5 attempts, that's 65 divided by 5 is 13-ish. So yeah, plus 13, I think we're averaging per driver when we pick together.
Which if like Bubba Wallace got us 50 points last week, I mean, 13 of 50 is 26%. So solid. And that's just a random example, but yeah.
So I'm picking?
I think I know who you're picking. I'd be surprised if you don't.
If I don't pick Stenhouse?
Yeah.
I would be surprised if I don't pick Stenhouse too, but I do want to go through the drivers here. Christopher Bell is definitely an option. And if I want to get back in this, I mean, you're saving Christopher Bell for New Hampshire, basically. So
or Phoenix too.
Yeah. So this is a potential way for me to kind of get back into things in the game theory way. I wouldn't necessarily pick Bell here, but in a game theory way where I'm losing 36 for 36 and need to get back into it. It's an interesting pick. Similar with last year's winner, Ryan Blaney. Because you don't have access to him anymore. And, or I could just save him for, Phoenix 2 because you took him at Phoenix 1. Or Martinsville, where he's just fucking crushed everyone last few races. No, Gregson's available. We talked about how this is a good track for him. So I think it comes down to Logano, Bell, Blaney, Gregson, and Stenhouse. And look, we still got Stenhouse is kind of a risk, right? Like if he has a bad race, that sucks because he could have a really good race at Atlanta or I guess we already did our Atlanta. It's at Daytona or at Talladega. So he's kind of a risk here and you don't have access to him. So I can just save him for one of those if I want to. He's also not racing for points. So he's just racing for the win. So I think, in a spot where he could win a stage at Daytona or Talladega. I think he's pretty valuable there. So I think Stenhouse is like the obvious choice, but also I think there's game theory reasons to play Christopher Bell. So I'm going to play Christopher Bell.
Interesting. I don't hate it. I
it's
think
pure game theory. Like I'm trailing and I need to get back into
Yeah.
this. So if Christopher Bell goes out and wins, dominates, and then something happens at New Hampshire or something happens in Phoenix, whichever race you end up taking him at.
Yep.
That's a game theory play.
Yep, absolutely. I completely get it. And yeah, you're 45 points behind now, but you know, Christopher Bell goes and wins these 2 stages, wins the race. That's what, 60 points?
Yeah.
And you know, I'm just hoping for a top 15 out of my guy. That's who I'm picking this week. So right now I'm debating between Zane Smith and Todd Gilliland. I think Zane Smith has more speed overall, and I think Gilliland's more honed in on having speed at these shorter flats. So I'm going with my boy Todd Gilliland in 36 for 36 this week.
Interesting. I have Gilly Gang potentially queued up for another one of these super speedways.
Do you?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just saying. I still have them available.
Yeah. I've basically painted myself into a corner now. I'm basically using Gregson and Herbst in the last 2 super speedway races.
Yeah. I mean, unless you want to take Zane.
Yeah, or Zane. But Zane, I feel like, is more likely than those 2 to well, I guess Gregson and Zane are pretty equal when it comes to potential. But, yep, I'm going with Gilly this week. If he gets a top 10, I'm going streaking around town. By the way, this weekend is my town's picnic. I know we've talked about it on this show before. I have not yet set a line for the number of beers that I'm drinking.
Oh, man.
I know a couple years ago, I think the line was 89 and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And I hit the over. I don't drink a lot anymore, to be honest with you. But I might have to bring back the old over under for this weekend. I have all the weekend off. My content is going to be a little delayed because of this picnic. I'm not going to be able to get everything done on Saturday, so early Sunday is when I'll get stuff done. But yeah, I'll have to set a line. I'll throw it on Twitter. Have some fun with it. DraftKings. All right. So last week I closed the gap a little bit in DraftKings. I ended up with 294.05. You ended up with 199.9. So that brings us season total now. You're at 4266.5. I'm at 4174.6. 91.9 is the advantage that you have. I've now won 2 weeks in a row after you went on that 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 out of 8.
Wow.
Wins. I have 2 weeks in a row. Some interesting pricing this week. I think there's several drivers that are cheap for who they are and where we're at. So
yes.
Let me throw this on here quick. I think we might end up very, very similar with these lineup builds.
Yeah. Yes, we might. It's tough though. Like there's like 3, of course, in the mid 5Ks. Whether you want to go Zane Smith, Todd Gill, and Ricky Stenhouse, or even Noah Gragson, or Justin Haley. I mean, look at the race he had last year. But then you also look, and it's like, okay, well, Austin Cindric 6,900, Ryan Preece is 7K, Alex Bowman 7,100, Bubba Wallace 72, Hocevar 74, Keselowski 76, Gibbs 78, Josh Berry is 8, like Kyle Busch is 8. I mean, there's so much value this week.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm starting with Christopher Bell.
Absolutely. Easy first click. I don't care where he qualifies. He is in every single one of my lineups this week at 10,200.
Exactly. Starting with Christopher Bell. This is tough, man. This is tough. I'm going to go. This is tough. This is very, very tough. I'm going to go Ryan Blaney.
Okay.
I'm going to go. I trust Bowman a little more than I trust Preece or Cindric, which is funny considering the year Bowman's had. But like Bowman's had speed, he's just had a lot of shit luck. Like I think Bowman's clearly had the most speed of the three. So I go with Bowman. I need to pick a mid 5K guy, obviously. I think you're going to pick Gilly because he's the cheapest, or I guess maybe Haley, but I'm going to go with, man, I don't know. Like you look earlier this year, Zane Smith was the guy at Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Stenhouse was 21st. Gregson was 27th. But, you know, like I said, Gregson didn't have a great day at Phoenix, but it's never – Iowa's been a good track for Gregson, but he's more expensive than Stenhouse. I'm going to go Stenhouse. But I could go Zane there very easily. So if I need to drop down $100, I have that option. Or maybe I just double punt. That would only get me Larson if I did Zane Smith. I don't really want Larson here.
Remember who led 83 laps at Phoenix?
Who?
William Byron.
Yeah.
Buy low, sell high. Or buy low opportunity here with the luck he's having at 10,000.
You know who's really good at Phoenix?
Chase Elliott. Denny Hamlin. Chase
Yeah,
Briscoe.
I was saying the other Chase.
Yep.
Chase Briscoe is good at Phoenix. What did he do earlier?
And he's been a qualifying machine lately.
He had an issue. Yeah, he sure has. What did Chase? Oh, Stuart Haas was garbage here last year. Yeah, it's so tough to go. I was saying I could go Briscoe, Preece, but those were the two bad Stuart Haas cars last year. So it makes me hesitate a little bit. Dude, I
don't remember what happened. Briscoe got caught up in that wreck at Phoenix earlier this year. He finished 35th.
Yeah, but he wasn't amazing anyway. But I mean, that was also early year.
Yeah.
Truex was also like kind of fading at Phoenix in his last couple of years. So like, if you want to go like car theory, like the 19 car, I don't know. Dude, I honestly have no idea. I'm just gonna go. Just gonna go Zane Smith, Kyle Larson.
You know what's funny?
What?
This is the exact lineup I had before we were recording.
You gotta be kidding me.
Dead serious.
Oh my God.
I don't think that's happened this year where we had the same lineup. I will change mine. But yeah, you got Larson, Blaney, Bell, Bowman, Stenhouse, Zane Smith, which I think is a really good line, obviously.
That's fucking funny.
Okay. For some reason, this isn't submitting, so I'm going to just run it off of here, and I'll go back and resubmit these. But yeah, Christopher Bell, like there's no way you can talk me out of Christopher Bell this week.
Yeah, I think he's a clear number one in terms of like DK value.
Yep. Bowman, another one of those guys, way underpriced in my opinion. Obviously, we don't know where he's going to qualify, but if he, even if he qualifies, ninth, I think that's a good price for Bowman. I do like Stenhouse. He doesn't qualify well. He's good here. 35th last year, still finished 5th. So I am going to go with those three the same. I honestly don't hate double punting this week.
Mhm.
And going,
Yeah.
Stenhouse Zane's at Stenhouse Gill and Stenhouse Haley, something like that. You went Blaney. I'm gonna go Hamlin. So give me Hamlin. Take this up a little bit. And then I'm gonna go Chase Briscoe and Ryan Preece.
That was what I was almost gonna do. Remember, I was gonna go Briscoe Preece and then Bowman, and instead of Hamlin, I might have gone Blaney. But yeah, like I was on almost that exact same lineup.
Mm. Yeah, so I'm going JGR heavy here with Hamlin, Briscoe, and Bell, and then filling it out with Bowman, Preece, and Stenhouse. So
yeah, we both ended up on basically the exact same lineups.
Yep. So I have Hamlin, Briscoe, and Preece. You have Larson, Blaney, and Zane. So I think these, like, going into the weekend, obviously we don't know qualifying or anything, but these are pretty close lineups. I like them both. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yep. We'll see how that goes. Anything else from you for Iowa?
No, nothing.
All right. Well, everybody enjoy the race this weekend, and we'll be back next week to talk about Watkins.
What? Oh, breaking news.
Oh boy.
IndyCar. Marcus Ericsson for Andretti Global. He has had a terrible year. Marcus Ericsson, breaking news. His seat for next year is secure, which is important because Kyle Kirkwood's in a contract year, from what I understand. So there's been rumors of Will Power to Andretti, which could mean Kyle Kirkwood goes to Penske. Or maybe Kyle Kirkwood goes to Ganassi if Scott Dixon retires. I don't know. But I think that's very notable that they said Ericsson's seat is secure. That creates some IndyCar silly season right there.
I was going to say, you said silly season isn't here yet. So
it hasn't hit for any of the series, but all of a sudden. As
Junior said, there's the biggest domino probably hasn't fell for NASCAR either. So
yeah, well, that was at least I think with tracks and playoffs, but
yeah,
there's about to be a whole bunch of dominoes that go, and I think Will Power in IndyCar is clearly the first domino. The odds are probably 80 to 90% he does not return to Penske, I would say, and in that case, what does he do? Where does he go? Who fills his Penske seat? And there's a lot of silly season still left in NASCAR too, especially surrounding the charters for 2311 and Firmer Motorsports, the lawsuit, and the Rick Ware legacy lawsuit. So yeah, a lot of silly season to come.
Lots of stuff. All right. Good luck to everybody this weekend at Iowa. We'll be back next week for Watkins Glen. See you guys.
See y'all.